I forgot to start the recording again. So, here we are again after a small crash. I have now grouped things up and I am going to demonstrate some painting within the lines methods. And good morning to Robert Brown as well. I like to name my ink layers outline and inline. This is not particularly idiomatic English, I think, but it's descriptive. So, we are going to have a relatively large outline here, just for demonstration purposes. And then we're going to have some slightly smaller internal divisions inside here. So, and this is where the layer grouping structure comes in. If I pick the Contiguous selection tool, so this is the classic magic wand. If you have the entire group ink selected, you can select an area like in good old MS Paint. But the thing is that you can also use specific layers here. So if you want to, you can select only everything that is within the actual outline. So if you have a separate inking layer that only contains the actual outlines and not all of the line work, you can easily use that to get these selection masks that hit the entire character that you're drawing. And here up above, if you select the selection mask, you can actually save this. And here I have moved it into the paint layer 6, which I am going to rename into something like color. And then I am going to do the same. This is outline. So this selection mask is going to be left. This selection mask is going to be middle. And this selection mask is going to be right. There are actually 4 areas here. So let's actually pick the 4th one as well. This is going to be called 4th. And I'm going to pull it inside the color layer as well. So now these have been saved. They are components of the color layer. And here in the right, you have this dotted circle. This is the way that you can select any of these. Or at least you should be able to select any of these. I'm not quite sure what's up with the outline here. It seems to have lost some of its opacity, so the outside doesn't seem to be 100% blocked anymore. But who knows? Yeah, that is exactly what has happened. So for some reason that I did not notice, the outline selection here has partial masking for the outside. I don't know why. I'm just going to do it again. If you want to use this kind of thing, I could see selection mask full. So here we are. So the effect is that you can now only color within this area. And you can then, let's say, put some green absolutely anywhere you want. In this case, this is all going on a single layer, so you can't differentiate between you can't take the green away anymore. But of course, if you were using several layers, this would not be a problem. And you can actually no, actually you cannot. Once you have saved it to a layer, you cannot actually use this selection to select this area for another layer. So I'm going to turn this back into entirely blue. And then I'm going to take another, no. Let's use, oh, how unfortunate. It turns out that you can actually easily edit the selection masks if you are fiddling around with them. No wonder that I somehow managed to make the original full mask partially invisible. Oh. So this area is now entirely blue. And when it is not selected, I should be able to select it as a new selection, and then I will be able to use that to only affect this area in a new layer. So a bit more effort, but you can do it. So now you can click the red one on and off. That's most of it, I think. You have masks in general. I'm going to, group all of this and hide it, and then start something a bit different. The layer properties is where you use blending modes. Convert. If you right-click a layer and convert, you can convert it to a selection mask. We've been using those. A filter mask. I think I should probably show this as well. Or a transparency mask, which is what we are mostly interested in. This is not showing as it should. In the preview, you can see that some parts of it are showing up black. Actually, quite large parts of it should be showing up black, but we can use this as a demonstration anyway. So here we have some red, and when we turn on the transparency mask, the areas that are black have been cut out. Ideally, you would have a preview for this. Why exactly it isn't working right now, I couldn't tell you. Probably something to do with the jump from Greta 4 to Greta 5, but you can play around with it. You are supposed to have the sort of, read out masking preview as you did with the selection masks. So what else do we have here? Filter mask. I think filter mask is going to need another, specialized demo to itself. Let's put a group again, and I'm going to turn the topmost into a Gaussian blur layer. And then I am going to, just doodle some various colors and sizes down here. Let's have a blood red fan, and then some, small orange fan on top of that. And then finally some small white sharp lines. I don't usually use filter masks, so I have to actually try to remember how this actually works. Apparently not quite as I remembered. I'm going to add a filter mask, Gaussian blur. Oh, the problem is that it's just not quite as sharp as I thought it would be with these settings. So I'm going to add yet another filter mask with a 20 pixels size. So now the filter is affecting only the topmost layer. Now it is affecting the entire group. Now it is only affecting the middle layer. Now it is again affecting the entire group. And now that it is subservient to the bottom layer, it is only affecting the bottom layer. So for example, if you wanted it to affect the second and third layer, you would have to group the second and third layer. Let's do that. And move this out of the layer. And now we have the second and third layers blurred and nothing else. So, and the next one is going to be layer inheritance. This is actually the one that I like using the most. I am going to use actually I'm going to use a not quite that strong. Let's use this one. I've put in some gray in the background here so that you can see when I apply some white. So this is not transparency to the white background. This is an actual layer of white. And you can see that it has some, a grain and structure to it. So now, when we use the alpha symbol here to the right, this top layer now has layer inheritance to the last non-layer inheritance layer. So what it means is that anywhere that the white layer exists, you get the the alpha transparency settings of that layer. So that means that I can yet now color this area in. I can use any tool that I want, and it will still have the texture and the area of the layer that it is inheriting from. So if I put in some like a white ball somewhere around here, and then maybe pencil erase some here. Now I can use my airbrush to first off show where it is, and then I will be able to use bold movements to actually color this in. Let's just use a plain white one so it's quite sharp. So now we have something that looks quite a lot like a glob of clay, let's say. If you want to have line art to your globe of clay, you probably want to have the line art in another group. So grouped outside, have your line art slightly separate from your colors. If you have the line art outside here, you can actually, have a line art that overlaps with the selection. But if you put it inside the group, or actually you don't have to put it outside the group, you can just not have it layer inherit. But if it has layer inheritance, then it will have this same perfectly strong border, and any areas outside the selection will not show at all. So not something that I personally like to do. Depending on what kind of things you want to color and draw, it might be useful as well. I imagine every function and every way to do things is useful for someone, but it isn't for me. So I agree, Attenborough. That's when I do soft shading, this is basically the way that I do it. As you might have noticed from all of my art assets, I like this kind of analog, rough aesthetic, and it can be helpful for that, particularly for painting in the colors. But for shading, it's not quite as useful as the airbrush is for soft shading. So I think that has been the second segment. Only 20 minutes. Well, no problem. Let's then move into the final section. I move the tech demo, update, stop recording.